Johnson doesn't. Like, let's just start. Your dad tags it on everything now.
He does. It's like his signature.
Chris Johnson.
Yes.
And I don't think there's really anybody in, like, our district that you can say, like, oh, Chris Johnson, and then not know him, because he really did just shake hands with everybody at least. And he's got such a gregarious smile and personality about him that, like...
Which is interesting for us, because now, like, getting into this circle, people, like, they don't know us, but then I'm like, oh, yeah, my dad, Chris Johnson, and they're like, oh, you're Chris Johnson's daughter, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. So Johnson doesn't. So my parents had 3 biological daughters. I'm the oldest. And I have 2 younger sisters, and then they started fostering and adopting, oh, my goodness, back in 2012. It might have been earlier than that. I don't know the exact year, but I was like probably like 14 or 15 at the time. And so they fostered over 40 kids throughout the time that they fostered, and then they adopted 7 kids, 5 of which are teenagers. And so they even, like, I have 3 siblings who are older than me that we adopted. So Johnson Dozen growing up was pretty crazy in our house all the time. It still is crazy now, especially that we all are like having our own families. Like, holidays are huge and loud, and you can't hide anywhere because there's nowhere to hide. It's been fun for Micah to get dragged into that mess.
Do you have a big family?
I do. I have 6 siblings. All of them are biological.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So you were kind of used to the bigger family that's just doubled the size.
The noise is what always gets me. Or it gets other people.
Yeah.
You come in and you're like, it's deafening.
Yes.
All the time. And so everybody talks so loud.
It's like you're fighting to talk.
Yeah. It's why. But trying to explain that to somebody until they come in, and then afterwards they're like, I'm tired. Why am I so tired? I was at your house for 30 minutes.
It's like, yeah.
So you were 14, you said, when your parents started fostering?
So I was like around that age, yeah.
Now, did you take on like the mom role where you're like, yeah, I'm going to carry the babies around?
Oh, absolutely. I remember when I was 15, I think, we had a newborn straight home from the hospital, and like she slept in my room at night, and I did the nighttime feedings with her, because like we just had like a little bond, and we just like had a little thing, and I was very much so mom, like instantly. Just oldest sister, happens naturally. And then when we brought in teenagers, that was weird for me, because like I can't really mom kids the same age as me. They don't like that. So that was an interesting dynamic, getting used to that. But
Did you try?
Yeah, absolutely.
You tried to mom them?
Oh,
okay.
Totally. And then like mom and dad would like go out of town or whatever. They would be gone for the day, and I was the one put in charge, because I knew what was going on, and they didn't like that because I was younger than them sometimes. So that was interesting growing up for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I think the name Chris Johnson precedes everybody at Kids Central. Like, I can remember that was like one of the first things. You gotta watch this. You know Chris Johnson? And I'm like, I just started.
Oh, still, if you click on our YouTube video, him talking is the first thing that pops up and starts playing. Even though that video is from literally 10 years ago when he was doing the Open Your Heart events, which is wild. But, so Micah, like, 6 siblings, but like, when you guys started dating, like, did she like, was she immediately like, we have to foster, this is like, there's no questions, it's gonna happen, if you're not ready for it, this won't work, or like...
Not necessarily. We talked it was part of conversation where like, I would definitely like to foster one day, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down with that. My family's always been really open to bringing people into our house. We've had a couple people who, as they've grown up, who've stayed with us and lived with us. My dad he is a pastor, and he was a youth pastor before that. So some of the kids, as the teens who grew up and got older and were trying to figure out what they wanted to do with their life, some of them came and lived with us. So fostering, in a sense, I knew there was a need, and I knew that was something I wanted to be a part of, because it just came naturally. It felt natural. So that was a big part of how we talked about things when we were dating.
Yeah.
You guys are young.
Yeah, we are.
So, like, if somebody's out there watching that's 23, 24, maybe even 21, what would you tell them about this journey that you guys have taken? Like, you started dating, did you get married before you fostered, or did you start fostering before you got married?
We started fostering, well, it was non-relative at first, but it was, I think, 4 months after we got married. Yeah.
So it's like marriage and then kids.
Yeah, it happens super fast. Which was not our plan. Like, we didn't go into that. Like, we thought, like, we would wait a year or two. Like, we would get established. But then just because, so the kids that we have now, my parents fostered, and then they went back home, and then, you know, for reasons they needed to come back and care. And so when we got the call asking if we would take them as a non-relative placement, I remember that was like, it was such a weird thing to us because we were like, can we even do this? Like, we're still kids. Like, we just got married and we work a lot and life is crazy. And that was insane. I think I was even more scared than Micah, which is funny.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I was like, because I remember I spent a lot of time praying about it, and just with those conversations with God, it just became really, really clear that this is something we needed to do. And I was scared out of my mind, but I told Alyssa, I said, how can we say no? Like we were literally asked, and I was like, how can we say no? We can't say no. These kids
like,
know
well, here's
us.
how we can say no.
I just feel like that's such a
Yeah.
taking on like marriage and then kids. Like I had my first child at 28 and I still didn't feel prepared. So like my kudos to you guys because it is just a whirlwind once you become a parent of work, family life, all of those things. So kudos to you guys and for being so young to just give so openly to two kids that needed a really awesome place to stay, I'm sure.
I gotta tell you, when I was talking to Alyssa before this, she was bragging on you because she was like, Micah was the one that was like, yep, we'll take him.
Yeah.
She was like, I was not sure.
I was like,
and he said, let's do it. We go, and I was like, I love that because it's so rare to have men that are willing to step up and jump into this wild journey where you take on and I mean, really, it's just very rare. It is, and I think a part of it is we're trying to figure it out. There's a bunch of reasons, I'm sure. But the fact that you wholeheartedly, I mean, and it makes it so much easier for her to trust you that like this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yep, exactly.
And you guys went in it together, and that's I think the most important part is being on the same page and being able to say, no matter what happens, we're gonna do this together, and we're gonna be great at it, and we're gonna move forward. So I just think that 23 is such a young age to be like, let's do this.
Wait, who's 20? You're both 23?
I'm 23. He's 24.
At
so
the time we were.
I was. It was.
I was gonna say
it was right before.
Years.
No, it was right after my. It was right before my 22nd birthday.
Yeah, so I was like.
Yeah. So yeah, we were in over our heads, like, and that wasn't like a secret to us. Like, you know, everybody would be like, "You guys are so young. Like, are you sure you want to do this?" And we're like, "We know this sounds crazy. Like, we so get that, but like, this is just what we're supposed to do, and we didn't think it would happen this early, but it did, and this is just like where we're at." And so, I think that was everybody was just like, "Is your marriage gonna be okay? Like, are you guys just got married? You're still learning how to live with each other. Like, are you guys gonna?" And we're just like, "We don't know, but we're just gonna like figure it out. Like, it just is what it is."
How do you guys feel like it has affected your marriage? Do you think it's made you guys stronger?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would say it's helped us communicate more. Because we can't really stay mad at each other because we have to do this together. Like, I need help putting the kids to bed and like doing school runs and different things. So I think it's strengthened our communication. And like you said, like our trust. Like, I trust Micah so much. And we couldn't do it if we didn't have that relationship.
I think there's definitely just a sense of you learn how to be closer together because you have the option. You have the choice whether you're going to separate yourself from each other or you're going to draw closer in difficult situations. Taking that choice to grow closer together has helped strengthen our marriage because we recognize we can't do this alone. We can't take care of these kids alone. We have to do it together.
Yeah.
So that's been a big thing, just to learn how to choose. It's a daily choice to choose one another daily and to walk this together.
Oh, I feel like that's marriage in general.
Totally.
Like, every day you're like, yep, we're doing this. Like, I still like you.
You roll over and you're like, yeah, I think I'll do that again. Yeah. Because parenting is not an easy journey, period. I mean, I'm not a foster parent and I'm not an adoptive parent. But, you know, I feel like every day is just something new and you're adapting to everything. I think it makes you grow as a couple and as people separately. But I feel like you guys kind of had a little bit of at least you had a little bit of an advantage because you came from a family that did. Kids came in, kids came out. Tell me a little bit about how you transferred that over to your own life and what you guys are doing as a family.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because it isn't an advantage in some areas, but it's also a disadvantage in some areas because you kind of like already have your mind made about how things are and how things go. So I think that's where Micah's been really great because he has a fresh perspective on things, and he can say, hey, Alyssa, I think you're seeing this through, like blinded view. Like, we need to look at this from a clear perspective. So I think it's been interesting in that way, but just knowing how things work, that's definitely helped. I think we have learned a lot from my parents. We talk to them about all kinds of behavioral issues and everything all the time. Like, we're always calling them. And so I think that's helped us a lot because it gives us, family who really gets it and who understands it. And like my extended family, they all got used to it because they had all my siblings coming in, and all the kids coming in and out of the house. So they already are used to it too. So it just gives us like a really wide support net. Because we've had tons of questions. I mean, there's things that we're like, I don't know how to do this. And, so just to have those people that you can call, it's been really beneficial to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm sure.
And I feel like the system is kind of sometimes hard to understand, especially when you're coming in to become a foster adoptive parent, and why things take so long, and what is TPR, and what is this acronym that everybody uses. So I feel like Advantage had in being part of the Johnson Dozen, but also navigating that yourself and understanding what your parents went through every time had to have been really.
Oh my goodness!
I came through and I was like, "What is TPR? I don't understand what that means." And like once you kind of get the lingo down, I think it's easier, but I also feel like people come in expecting like tomorrow you're gonna get a kid, and that's just not how it works. Unfortunately, our goal always at Kid Central is reunification, but when that doesn't work out, we have to have parents like you guys who will step into that gap for that child. So talk to me a little bit about navigating the system as you guys have done with your own kids, and then through fostering.
So navigating the system, that's been interesting, I would say, because I would say that I thought I knew more than I realized that I knew. Because, I remember going to court with my parents, doing visits. I remember me and my mom drove into the middle of nowhere at midnight one night to pick up the kid. I remember all those things, but I don't think that I fully understood everything that they went through. And, all the visits from guardians and caseworkers and this person and this appointment. I mean, it's crazy, the schedule. It's a lot. So I think that has been definitely a learning curve, I would say. We've been really fortunate to have a really good guardian at Litem who has been amazing. And if we don't know something, I'll be like, Charlie, can you please help me? And she'll find us. She'll go to whoever she needs to go to find us the answer. And we've had good caseworkers too, and just our support team. And then I would also say the Lake Sumter families, they have been a huge blessing to us, Brandy and your mom Melanie. I mean, I have talked to them and asked them so many questions, just because it's a lot to figure out. It's a lot to navigate, and they throw around words like TPR and MBI, and I'm like, what's an MBI? And we need to have an MDT staffing and this and this and that. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And they're like, you don't know what that means? I'm like, no. And so
we didn't get the acronym book.
It's just no. So it's been interesting to learn all that.
Have you caught yourself starting to use the?
Yes.
And then you're talking to somebody and they're like,
yeah.
What did you say?
Yep, exactly.
I do that with my parents all the time.
They're like, wait, what does that mean?
That's awesome. How have your parents reacted to this? Because they didn't come from that.
Yeah,
right.
They've been honestly all for it. They've just recognized this is what Mike and Alyssa are called to do, and we're going to support in whatever way that they can, and they've really taken it head on. Mm-hmm. It's been really cool to watch them grow and learn to love our journey and our kids as we're finishing up adoption and becoming Nana and Papaw. It's been super cool to watch that. So yeah, they've been all for it. It's been really cool.
That's awesome. That's super cool to watch. And then, oh goodness, I don't even know where to go after that.
I feel like I took Caleb way off the rails.
No. It's so this is funny because I obviously I also want to foster at some point.
Okay.
It's probably one of the first dates Sarah and I went on. She came over to the house and my parents had just gotten some kids in and they had lice and she took the time to comb out these girls' hair and braid it. And again, it was one of our first dates, and I was like, "Okay, she's it.
That's it. Yes."
She gets it. And so we were talking to my parents about this. We're like, "Oh, we're married. We have a house. And she was like, "No, don't do it." She's like, "Don't foster right now. And I was like, "Were your parents Were they like, don't, maybe not, like, think about it? Or were they ones that brought up this to you, that the kids were coming back into the care? They were like, this might be their only opportunity to go with someone they know?
That was more so my parents. Well, I would say a lot of it was a mix. I would say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
My mom, like, loved these kids, and it was hard when they left. Like, they're her babies, really. And so we had stayed in touch even with the biological mom as they were back home, just trying to support her. I mean, we babysat for her a couple times, just really trying to help her succeed. And I remember, like, even my mom would fly down for when we were planning our wedding for my dress fittings, and we would always go swing by to check on the kids. Like, that was just always something that we were going to do. So I would say, like, my mom, that was really like, can you guys just think about this? Like, and we were like, okay. And then, but I think my dad was more of like the realist of like, you know, if you guys don't think you can do this, like, we get it. We still love you. We're not going to hate you. Like, it's not a do or die thing. And they both talked to us about the reality and also the reality of the kids and everything that they had been through and how that has affected them.
Yeah, we talked a lot about just what the pros and cons, you could say, would look like to both scenarios, whether we took them or not. And just ultimately, I remember in those conversations being told, look, this is not my decision. This is your guys' decision. You have to make it. We can't make it for you. And we're going to support you either way. And I think that was huge. That was huge for us and helped us a lot. To know that, and I talked to my parents too, and because it was hard, like, it's not an easy thing to step into, and it happened really fast. And so I think it was cool to be able to know that we had the support of our parents either way, but to know that it was our decision, and this was our chance to step out as adults. Because we're adults, we're married, and take those adult moves to see
Isn't
whether
that crazy? That's all it takes to be an adult.
That's right. I'm like, oh gosh.
Wild.
I always laugh that you could go back to your 16-year-old self and tell yourself what you had to look forward to.
Oh goodness.
My 16-year-old self would have ran. She would have been out the
I'm
door.
Still running. I'm 36. I'm still trying to get out the door.
She would have been gone.
But I think as a parent, across the board, it's just really cool to watch your child grow with you and grow as you grow. And I think that's probably the biggest curve that you could take as a parent, is just walking through that with them and learning to see things through their eyes. I'm a big believer in, when I pick my kids up from school, I always think to myself, like, they've had just as hard of a day as I have had. So, like, them coming to these, because I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, they get in the car and they're always fighting with each other. And I'm like, seriously, enough. Like, and, you've had a long day, they've had a long day, and I think, like, going from my parents to becoming a parent, like, learning to take that step back and allowing them to have feelings and know those things. So this question is leading to something. Our kids, for the most part, come in with some sort of trauma, whether it's a low side of trauma or the high side of trauma. Talk to me about how you guys deal with that going into this. You knew a little bit about what kids have been through. I'm sure she talked to you a lot about it. But talk about how you mitigate those circumstances and how you guys navigated through those tough times.
Sure. So I would say we didn't really realize how much the kids had been through and how bad it had really gotten until they were in our home, until we were having conversations and we were seeing behaviors and just different things like that. It was really eye-opening because we were like, oh my goodness, like, these kids have been through a lot. And there was a really big change in their personalities and their behaviors from the time that they were with my parents last, and then, that lap that they were with their biological mom, and then coming into our home. They were totally different kids because they had just been through so much. And so that was it was a difficult thing to navigate, I would say. And there's definitely been days where we've just had, like, it's just been like one of the kids just screaming and pitching fits, like, all day. And that was something I don't think we were really prepared for at all.
Yeah, I remember right off the bat, like, our youngest, every night she'd wake up in the middle of the night and scream for like 2 hours. And I remember that was really eye-opening to a little bit of the trauma, and it was hard, long nights, and just learning to navigate through that was challenging. There was nights where we're like, are we sure we wanted to do this? But then What I ultimately always came back to is just the fact that the reason they're acting this way is because of their trauma.
Absolutely.
And I remember those nights just thinking through even honestly unfortunately scenarios that could have happened or did happen, and just I remember times just weeping as I'm trying to console our she was what,
she's 18 months
18 months at the time, so it that's been the biggest thing. I think especially since I was not familiar with the trauma side of things coming into fostering at all. That's one of the biggest things, is recognizing that their behaviors are because of their trauma, and their trauma is something that was not meant to happen.
Right.
It is not meant to be, and it gave me a deeper sense of love and care for them. So it's been a big thing for me, at least.
Yeah, and I was always looking, especially at the beginning, because our kids have come a long way now. Like, praise God, they still have their issues and their hang-ups, and they always will, but they have come a long way from that. And I remember, like, I was always looking for resources back then, because I was just like, I just need everybody to teach me what to do, because I'm like a fixer. So I was like, how do I fix this? And so I remember I was listening to a podcast once, and I just think the thing that always stuck with me is, like, these children are having natural responses to unnatural occurrences in life events. And so that was really big for me, because I think, even with my background, I always struggled with, like, they're not acting like normal kids. Like, this is not normal. And it's not normal, because what they've been through is not normal, and what they've had to experience is not normal. And, having an 18-month-old that is used to being disturbed 5,000 times a night because things are loud and crazy and chaotic in our home, like, that's not normal. And so I've seen Brandy say it like 5,000 times in the foster parent group, like, your kids are not normal kids. They're just not, because they come from these broken places and trauma, and it just affects them. It just changes who they are, and that's not their fault at all. And so just learning to take a step back and give them a lot of grace, and give yourself grace as you're learning to navigate through it, because it's hard on you too, because in a lot of sense you, in a way, take on their trauma, because you're caring for them, and because you have such a close relationship with them that it hurts you too. Like, I've cried so many times for my kids just because I love them so much, and I'm like, I hate what you've been through. So I think it was a lot of that.
Was there ever a point when you felt, and this is not trying to, like, point at you guys in any way, I just know, my mind, was there ever a point that you felt guilty for something you didn't do or should have, that you were like, I let them down?
I would say absolutely, especially, like, the more we learned about how to parent them, really, and we learned about, like, TBRI methods, and just, you don't treat them like normal kids because they're not normal kids. I remember, like, thinking back to the beginning stages when I was like, oh my gosh, like, maybe if I would have been a little bit more patient then, like, they could have started getting better sooner. Like, that was really hard to process, just because, I mean, we were so young, we were so new at the beginning, we were just trying to keep our head above water, trying to figure out how to do this.
That was a big thing. Like, I think for many, even foster parents, they have an opportunity. A lot of them have had kids, or at least a little bit more life experience to deal with kids. We had never parented in our life, and we decided taking 3 kids at the time, so it was just...
But you also didn't have any of the bad habits, which I think is another thing.
That's true. We're learning as we go, yeah.
You don't start yelling, you don't, like, because you're like, oh, I can't yell.
That's
Yelling
true.
is not an option.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely my parents, I don't know, I was very young at the time, but I'm sure every parent that's been a parent steps into fostering like, oh, I'll just do it the way I do with my kids. And the reality is, like, it's not gonna be worked that way.
No,
which
it doesn't.
Leads me to another question. You guys are not gonna have a kid.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like, how do you, like, take that on? Like, do you, you're parenting differently?